a few weeks ago, someone was shot at taking out their garbage, and it happened to be a DPW worker that was the intended target. And then you fast forward to a young man being murdered on the north side of Mount Vernon, um, and the surveillance cameras that were up now were taken down by this administration. And it's a real disgrace in terms of what has happened. And even with the school district, I mean, the city and the school district have issues that need to be resolved. The first one being the city needs to send the real estate taxes over to the school district because that's their money. They need their money. But the impact on education, the impact on our children who are already dealing with um, COVID challenges. It's a real shame that the city has taken the position that they're not going to send over the monies that are rightfully due to the school district um, for their needs, and it's really jeopardizing quality education in our community. And I'm really hoping that something does happen because we really need a big change. So as we get ready to welcome our guest who's going to call in, definitely want to open the lines. Again, the phone number is 914-636-0110. We will hold off on callers first as we introduce our guest who was on CNN this week commenting on a bunch of issues that relate to, well, what's happening here, what happened with the Ambassador Haley's announcement for president, what happened with the SCOTUS investigation, what happened with, what's going on with um, our former president in the train crash. Is he going to line up against Ambassador Haley, President Biden? And this SCOTUS investigation is very serious. But on the line to talk more and introduce is our guest, Kaivan Shroff. As I mentioned, everybody, he is the senior advisor for the Institute for Education. And during the 2016 presidential race, he worked on Hillary Clinton's campaign, uh, focusing largely on digital organization. And he has contributed so much to advancing great policies, especially around mental health. Um, Harvard and Yale educated. Kaivan, thank you for joining us and bringing your insight to some issues that are really frustrating, our country.
Be with you.
And look, we have a lot going on. I know that Ambassador Haley announced for president. Where do you see that going?
Yeah, I don't see it going too far. Honestly, to me, it comes across much more like he's auditioning for, a cabinet position, a vice presidential role, something like that. I think for to the extent that he's basically launched this in the hopes of using her identity as an Indian American to deny the realities of racism in this country. And quite frankly, I think the more people learn about her, the less excited they'll be about her candidacy.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, will she be one of the few people standing? Because, it looks like Georgia, they recently recommended some indictments that were recommended under seal. And I'm curious about, what those indictments look like. So Georgia, grand jury made this bold pronouncement today. And, I'm guessing if President Trump is among that group, not saying he is, but I'm saying, but if he was, that might limit him from really pursuing higher office. What do you think?
I think, first of all, the timeline is important. So even if those indictments come down, it's very unlikely that he's convicted of anything, before the election concludes. Even, we've heard from that poor woman who's been, perhaps ill-advisedly doing the press rounds already. And she's strongly implied that he will be among those
Oh, wow.
recommended for indictment. Um, so I think that's definitely something people are expecting at this point. But look, like we've seen Republicans time and time again stand behind this man after awful act, criminal act, investigation. So I don't really think that it can be among the point.
Well, I mean, look, there was a visit by Florida Governor Nick DeSantis to New York the other day. Mayor Adams welcomed him with some advice about not banning books, respecting LGBTQ plus communities, and reminding him that we're a democracy where we don't use migrants as political pawns. So I think that there's something there to look at in terms of who else is trying to audition, as you point out, for whatever role they want to play. But Florida Governor DeSantis seems to be um, trying to contend for the next level, I guess, of politics. You have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I do. I think Ron DeSantis has been incredibly skilled, engaged in a way that the media really thinks. He picks these but like get he's a pretty empty individual. People are really sort of bullish on his candidacy, but if you've watched him, he is really not a likable guy. He doesn't have an engaging personality. He certainly doesn't have the charisma, for better or worse, that she brings. So I think there is a solid chance that he fizzles once he's sort of constantly in that national spotlight.
And then Biden beats him again if Biden runs. I mean, it doesn't matter. I think, just going to President Biden's State of the Union address, I thought it was a tremendous address, very down to earth. But we're going to pick this back up when we come back from a quick commercial break. You're listening to What Happened Here. We're featuring Kaivan Shroff. Don't change that dial. We'll be right back from a quick commercial break. All right.
All three of them.
Gonna be a great show, y'all. I'm telling you, gonna be a great show. I hope y'all can hear this on YouTube.
It's WVOX.
I'm Susan Lee, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The Federal Reserve releases minutes from its recent meeting today. Investors will get a better idea of the Fed's view of the economy and inflation. St. Louis Fed President James Bullard says the economy is stronger than the Fed previously thought, but he believes inflation can come down even with a strong labor market. Facebook's
I think Vince hung up.
Oh, he did? Is he calling back or no?
Maybe he'll call. Most likely he'll call back.
Yeah, because he don't want to sit on the phone for the break.
Yeah.
post says the new downsizing could impact.
Usually he does.
West airline shares are lower. Hundreds of U.S. flights were canceled early today, with airlines facing a fierce winter storm. It's the first big test for Southwest since bad weather over the holidays forced cancellation of more than 16,000 flights. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, beat the largest timeshare company in federal court and has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare information guide absolutely free. Call 800-393-1881. That's 800-393-1881.
This is WVOX at 1460 for Yonkers, White Plains, and New Rochelle.
1460.
And here we go, y'all. Coming back.
And now back to What Happened Here with Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon, on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Thank you for joining What Happened Here. And we're here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. asking the question, what happened here? Today's guest is Kaivan Shroff. He was a guest on CNN this week commenting on a variety of issues. He's the senior advisor at the Institute for Education, has done some great work in mental health, involved with Forbes New York Business Advisory Council. And he is also Harvard and Yale educated. Now I'm skipping over your credentials. I'm going to tell everybody your credentials in one moment. I just want to make sure because he's done so much work on Hillary Clinton's campaign, and he's been a tremendous force behind getting people organized. He attended Harvard for law school, Yale for management, and has a MPP from Harvard Kennedy School. So he's a smart guy, and he has some very intelligent comments and some key insight as to what's going on a national front. And before we went to break, we were talking about how one of the potential candidates for president on the Republican side has been playing the national racist slash, hysteria in the media, but, all bark, no bite, as Kaivan pointed out. So I guess what do we make of that? Is that something that we can expect more of? More bark, no bite, no action by these pretenders that are gonna, you know, I guess they're claiming they're gonna rescue the country, but I think again, President Biden's agenda that he laid out during the State of the Union address, I thought it was, a tremendous um, acknowledgement that there's a lot of pain in the middle class, and I think President Biden's approach to dealing with real problems is a real solution.
Agree. I think seeing with this, it, it's sort of still they ever will be. They're all waiting each other out in sort of this extended game of chicken. And I mean, what a joke. I mean, you're saying to be the leader of the free world and you're not even willing to make your best case. So it's a little bit laughable.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I don't really understand in politics. I while I'm in politics, I dislike certain elements of politics. I dislike the holding back and being, incredibly vague on certain things because you know what? I feel like we have life is a gift. I think we have a limited amount of time. And people are, if they're going to select you, they're going to select you for your ideas and the positions you take. And if you take a position that you believe in, believe in your position. Don't hide and try to, twist and contort what you're saying. And that's what we are seeing right now, especially on the Republican side. But I do want to go back briefly to the address. President Biden made it clear, like, there are proposals from the Republican side to cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. And then they said, what did they say, Kaivan? I'm drawing a blank.
They're like the heckle. It was appropriate. I think, you know, even 20 older out of the
Look, people can criticize his age, his intellect, and his thinking has been spot on. He's gotten a lot done, and the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, New York State in particular got a tremendous amount from those federal acts. And thank you to again Majority Leader Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, Representative Jeffries. But I do know that we had calls call in earlier. I don't know if they're still on the line, but all right. So we had callers call in. We had three callers calling, but callers can call back at 914-636-0110, 914-636-0110 in case they want to call back and tap back in. But I just want to now just pivot back to, you know, tell me about this SCOTUS investigation. What's going on with the Supreme Court?
So I think incredibly alarming this pattern that we're seeing with the court, where the justices aren't code of ethics like all other judges in the constitutional who has the authority to block the justices. Only them do you to sort of see the less outrageous, at least in you know hearings, justices like Justice Chief Justice Roberts, who has his wife working for law firms that are then arguing in front of him at the same time. That is incredibly inappropriate. He made millions of dollars off of these law firms, and they never disclosed to the American public that the court was hearing cases by those firms at the same time. And obviously, I think people are familiar with, Justice Thomas's corruption. Alito is very likely in to some extent in leaking decisions. There's been a lot of news about that, and even conservatives coming forward to confess that he told them information ahead of decisions coming out. So this is a huge crisis, especially as the Supreme Court is rolling back rights and deciding major policy issues. These 9 people that essentially the American public has lost a lot of faith in. So it's really not a great sign for democracy.
Well, we're going to talk about democracy, how people manipulate democracy, and we'll revisit Roe v. Wade and what the Supreme Court did. But don't change our dial. Listen to what happened here with our special guest, Kaivan Shroff. Don't change our dial. Hey guys, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. I don't know why Instagram kicked me off, but thank you for coming back, y'all. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section. We'll definitely talk it through. And while we're off on break, just want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Mount Vernon. I mean, like, can you guys believe it? Like, there was that report that came out that said that the administration hired over 300 people over the past year or so. Where are these people? Why spend an extra $8 million and nothing's getting done? Like, nothing's getting done. Are these no-show jobs? Because I don't see where these people are. 300 people? Like, where are these people coming from? What are they doing?
With road closures possible, as up to a half inch of crippling ice is also expected.
Yeah. Yeah. But Mount Vernon, man, we need to remove the problems inside City Hall. That's all I can tell you. You're gonna have that chance coming up soon.
Including a visit to Ukraine to mark Friday's upcoming one-year anniversary of Russia's Ukraine invasion. America's listening to Fox News.
Grads, if you're looking to jumpstart your life and get launched as an executive in a stellar and prestigious career with Westchester's fastest growing office company, our friends at Premier Business Innovations are now looking for talented and motivated sales executives to join their team of business professionals. Call President Mark Habib at Premier Headquarters in Pleasantville and stop by this week to meet Mark and discuss an exciting future with Premier Business Innovations. They are great people who have earned the trust of thousands of Westchester's most prominent and important companies. Premier offers a unique opportunity to get real life business training and also qualify for above average earnings. So if you're outgoing, competitive, professional, coachable, and if you're a great team player, we suggest you call 914-747-3000 this week. We've known Premier's respected President Mark for a good long time as a real statesman of his profession, and they are in every telling and every account a great company. If you've graduated from college and think you have what it takes, joining the Premier Business Innovations team is a great opportunity for you or for someone you know. This is an important offer and a defining moment from a fantastic Westchester company. Call Premier in Pleasantville, 914-747-3000. Premier is a vital local partner to Kyocera Document Solutions America, which designs, manufactures, and distributes the absolute best business machines in the world that fax, scan, copy, and run your office brilliantly and efficiently. In our area,
So what's going on over on Instagram land? Hey, PA. Glad. What's going on?
If this appeals to you, call 914.
Hope y'all doing all right. Wearing my Mount Vernon jacket. Razorbacks. You'll see me in this. I like wearing it during the wintertime, especially because it's warm, it's comfortable, flexible.
Forecast Westchester County and the vicinity for today, cloudy skies.
But definitely dope.
Mixed with some sleet at times.
I know commercials are killer, but they pay the bills here, so we gotta deal with it. But if you got a question, you feel free to talk to me off talk to me here, talk to me now in between break. I'll address questions, comments. You want me to ask a guest anything, put it up. So take advantage of the commercial break because we both breaking together. I'm enjoying my coffee and just hoping and praying that Instagram don't shut down the feed when they hear like any music in the background. It's ridiculous how Instagram operates these days. But whatever the case, it is what it is. My guest is definitely got an opinion, and we're gonna talk it through a little bit more when we come back from break. So here we come. Get ready.
Where's Rich Thomas? Here on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon. You're listening to WVOX 1460 on your AM dial, a Whitney Global Media station, and we are here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. asking the question, what happened here? And we want to know this week what happened here with Ambassador Nikki Haley, President Joe Biden, former President 45, the SCOTUS investigation. We got so many different topics. One topic I know we definitely need to evaluate is the EPA's response or lack of response to the toxic train crash in Ohio. That's something that's going to get a lot of attention and rightfully so. But our special guest is a CNN guest commentator, Kaivan Shroff, on the line talking about a lot of these national issues and how they impact us locally. If you want to call in with questions, comments, or you want to discuss or debate some of these issues, please. The phone number is 914-636-0110. Again, that's 914-636-0110. And before we went to break, we were talking about, these national issues and how they set back our country and questioning the integrity of the Supreme Court. Who has the ability to address some conflicts of interest that appear to be, um, really concerning. So before we went to break, Kaivan was describing a situation where Chief Justice Roberts' spouse some of the companies she works with, some of the law firms she works with, are presenting legal cases in front of him, and there seems to be a benefit from her relationship with those law firms, and it's clear that there's something there, but is there a there, and who's gonna do the evaluation, the inquiry, who's gonna look at it, and that's a serious question. So is it Congress that's led by um, Republicans with McCarthy? Is it? I mean, and who knows if the terrible liar George Santos, the representative, um, is he going to stay? And that one vote you know, loss at some point, is that going to, diminish the Republicans' ability to control the House? I don't know. I think there's a lot to say there, but the Senate seems to be probably the best place to bring accountability for the Supreme Court. Do you have any thoughts on that, Kaivan?
By the way, just so you know, the conduct for the United States, whether there's a there or not, really prohibits even the appearance of input. That's how high the standards are for judges in the country that are on the Supreme Court. It's been precedent that justices to bring
That's one of the things that I was hoping that President Biden did when he first became president right after January 6th, which was to take full advantage of the majority, the supermajority that the Democrats had, and just say, look, it's apparent that when President Obama was in office, he had the opportunity to make an appointment. The Republicans controlled the Senate. They blocked that appointment to create an opportunity for the Republican president to make an appointment. And that was wrong in my view. And they did it anyway, and they got away with it. And look what happened. You got a Republican majority controlling the Supreme Court for the next 30 years. And it was my opinion that at that time, you know, there was no need to do a study or a commission to evaluate the Supreme Court. I'm thinking, look, just add a few more, balance it out, make it even, and then fight about it later. But the right thing to do is to have it balanced.
a lot of people come to that solution. I think the so if you do it right this moment, just you control the Senate. With people like and Joe, really just thing like
Right.
so. Do think Henry's done, and he's the right person to do this, and we saw him very sort of decidedly not, address the judges in a vitriolic way during the State of the Union, totally appropriate. Um, but and other leaders, I think, should start to, just stuff that obviously Trump in the White House really led this charge. The, deep-rooted system of conservative legal scholars and, dark money that goes into controlling and installing essentially these conservative justices like Amy Coney Barrett and Neil Gorsuch, who
Now, here's a question of rights that were rolled back. Um, Roe v. Wade, the right to choose was essentially punted back to the states. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a scenario where people are realizing that, you know what, we finally have something that needs to wake us up to make sure that our rights are not further abridged?
I think we saw in the
Hmm. And that's where, again, like, what kind of society are we living in? With all of this, all these questions that you're raising. It's like, what do we do? How come we have so many restrictions when freedom's supposed to be about freedom, not reducing access to freedom? And that's something that, I think we continue to see day in and day out with different issues that keep popping up in our democracy. And that's where I come back to you, you having analyzed many of these situations. Can you talk about how democracy gets manipulated?
Sure, so it's logged on YouTube and millions of dollars from that station stuff. So it's very concerning. And I think, as how to protect democracy, I think people really are feeling it feels a little less of an extreme moment maybe than in 2020 when it was time for Trump and there was all this threats to democracy and people feel like maybe they got a threat.
But we're gonna make sure we address it when we come back from this very quick commercial break. Don't change that dial. How y'all doing, y'all?
World and national news. Here is the latest update from Fox News Radio on 1460 WVOX.
Morning, good morning, good morning.
News, I'm Chris Foster. More than 60 million Americans across 29 states are under some sort of winter weather alert from the coast-to-coast storm hitting the upper Midwest today.
How y'all doing?
To Minneapolis, schools cancel.
Avoid travel the next few days.
Minnesota DOT's Jake Lowe shares spin-outs reported across the region with road closures possible.
I got any questions, please hit me up.
Is also expected from Cedar Rapids.
Drop it in the comment section.
Moves east over the coming days.
Fox Jeff Manasso. President Biden meeting with Eastern European leaders in Warsaw, Poland today. That's just suspending a nuclear arms treaty with the United States. Private meeting with Poland's President Duda. We're getting on an Air Force One flight, the trip back to Washington. Trip including a visit to Ukraine to mark Friday's upcoming one-year anniversary of Russia's Ukraine invasion. Fox News.
Back to Fox News Audio and the Fox News app. Listen to your favorite hosts like Brian Kelly, Jimmy Fallon, and Kaivan Shroff standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. Scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now. From the Fox News Podcasts Network. I'm Ben Domenech, Fox News contributor and editor of the Trendsome.com daily newsletter, and I'm inviting you to join a conversation every week with the smartest thinkers out there about the issues Americans face and where we are going as a nation. This show will feature deep dive interviews with and some of your favorite Fox News analysts. I hope you'll join me as we dive into the firm. It's the Ben Domenech Podcast. Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com.
One of the most important things our local WVOX radio station is known for is to alert and inform our many loyal listeners about schools, churches, temples, meetings, after-school activities delayed or canceled when snow and ice storms arrive. These announcements are the kind of information everyone in Westchester needs to hear about right here on 1460 AM. Official, all-important, informative, and informational storm announcements, and they are being made possible through the generosity of New Rochelle Chevrolet at 291 Main Street right here in New Rochelle. New Rochelle Chevrolet is a superb Chevrolet dealership, always friendly and welcoming to their customers, helping them get in on really good deals because they know that Westchester shoppers deserve the best. And the staff at New Rochelle Chevrolet, with Frank Endress at the helm, only want the best for their customers. New Rochelle Chevrolet is informing you as to what is closed on those snowy, wintry days because they have been named the exclusive sponsor of WVOX's Storm Alert. Thank you, New Rochelle Chevrolet, for bringing these reports to the WVOX listeners.
Stay airborne with us each and every day at 1460.
Coming back from break.
Or stream live right now at WVOX.com. Better yet, download the WVOX app and take us with you wherever you go. 1460
And now back to What Happened Here with Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon, on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon. You're listening to What Happened Here. And we are here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. asking a question. What happened here with a particular situation, topic, or issue? And our special guest this week is Kaivan Shroff. He is a senior advisor at the Institute for Education. He worked on Hillary Clinton's campaign for president, doing digital organizing. He's an advisory board member of the Jet Foundation, doing great work on mental health. He's been a member of the Forbes New York Business Council, and he holds a JD from Harvard Law School, an MBA from Yale School of Management, and an MPP, Master's Public Policy, from the Harvard Kennedy School. Smart guy, smart insight. We're having a very sharp conversation, and if you want to cut in, the phone number is 914-636-0110. Again, it's 914-636-0110. And before we went to break, we were talking about the situation with respect to the Supreme Court possibly deciding a scenario with you know social media companies, between surveillance and or monitoring, censoring, you name it. And the question is, who's going to do what about it? This is a free speech issue. So, Kaivan, where do we go? We created this, we allowed this space, this digital space to be created. Now, who's going to put guardrails or are we really going to allow, is it really going to be the Supreme Court that's going to decide this issue?
Well, see, either the sort of block sort of
Yeah, I mean, look, Elon Musk purchased Twitter, and I didn't see that coming, but he did, and he welcomed back President 45. So it's kind of like, it seems that these people in the ultra 1% want an ultra extreme leader, and I'm just curious as to, you know, what world are they living in?
I think somebody like an Elon Musk wants this.
So then who's going to answer and solve the problems? I mean, like we have a crumbling infrastructure. We see the train derailments continue to happen, or at least they're getting a lot more attention now. There was a train derailment in Detroit the other day. There's one in Georgia. There's another one. I mean, the big one is in East Palestine, Ohio,
Right.
1,000 feet from the border of Pennsylvania. They're talking about major cities that these trains were heading toward. And what are we doing? Why the continued fight over things that right now we have a crisis on our hands. What is the EPA doing, and what should we be really focused on with respect to our infrastructure?
Yep. So I think probably the Airbnb technical stroke 20 issues take time. Protecting democracy takes time. So, people may not feel the pressure or sort of the urgency that they felt a couple years ago because we have sort of a reasonable person in the White House, but feel
And that's where it's like, what do you trust? And that's where you mentioned Alex Jones earlier. And I'm like, I know some families that were, unfortunately exposed to Sandy Hook. And it's like, what do you do with a liar denier like that? And rightfully he was taken to court and they held him accountable, but man, he almost got away with it. And that's tell me.
really do with people who have reasonable disagreements. I mean, there's this very dark, very negative force of a lot of people in this country who want that chaos. They want violence. They want, us to revert back to a very uncivilized society, and that's what we're fighting for here.
Provider for the soul, and I can relate because just on a more micro level, on a local level, the current administration shut down the animal shelter and they tried to blame others. Meanwhile, the state of New York came out with a report that said they had a sewer rat infestation that they needed to treat going back to June of 2022, and then they left that unattended, and the rats, what did they do? They multiplied and destroyed the shelter. It is disgusting. How can a local level person be so irresponsible? Heartless is the word I characterize it as. But it's just like, you had a shelter that was put there the same year Roe v. Wade was enacted, 50 years ago. This was put into a community. And just because they didn't want to hire an exterminator. Instead, they hired chauffeurs to drive them to the airport to take trips on the tax time. But that's I digress. But I just want to emphasize the point that what you're talking about is for real because who we elect has a huge impact, be it nationally or locally, and it all is somewhat connected. And if you can just, I know we're running down on time. Can you just tell us a little bit about where people can find you? Do you keep a blog? Is there some? How can we follow you? And in terms of looking ahead, any predictions with the Supreme Court, be it the investigation or the decision that's going to determine the direction of the social media? Well, keeping fingers crossed that there will be some kind of accountability. We need to maintain confidence and trust in, our institutions. And even though we know that there are forces out there to manipulate democracy, we know that there are forces out there to help maintain democracy. And I thank you, Kaivan, for your work and what you're doing to help, shine a light on the truth and to remind people of what's really going on, because it's easy for people to be, tricked and deceived. And I'll never forget, a wise man said, it's hard to tell who is the fool when two people are arguing. It takes time for the truth to come out, and the truth, we see it every day. It just takes time. It's like a slow moving train. But when it crashes like it did in Ohio, we do need action, and I do hope that Transportation Secretary Buttigieg does step up to help move the cleanup effort forward faster, stronger. And everybody, we had a great guest. Thank you, Kaivan, for joining us. Looking forward to having you back in the future. And everybody, follow Kaivan. He's a smart, sharp, right on the money. We're going to talk next week. We have some great topics coming up next week. Thank you for being here with us. This was What Happened Here.